Hey, Todd Burrier from toddburriertodd.com, and today we're going to talk a little bit about building your culture in leadership, which is a huge part of what you're trying to accomplish because you're interested in building something for the long term. And even if you're just getting started, you have to understand that the minute you start sponsoring, you're leading, right? You're in a position to lead. And so you want to think leadership. So this is a leadership-oriented message. So building your culture. So what is culture? Well, there are lots of different definitions of culture, but they tend to all boil into the same kind of area, and that is essentially a group of people, or I prefer the word community, because that's really what you're building as a community, that share a purpose and an attitude and common beliefs and a way of thinking and behavior and core values. And then a culture should be inspiring, right? I mean, if you think about cultures in general, not classic human cultures, but organizational cultures, they're inspiring, right? People are fired up about that culture and they want to bring people to it, right? And they want to grow it and make a difference with it. And so if you think about your community and your culture is going to be, well, like one of two things. And actually, it's going to be both. It's going to be both an immune system and a magnet. So think about it this way. The culture that you create, right, especially if it's created around really good core values and behaviors, is going to serve as an immune system for that culture in and of itself, because the wrong kinds of people, right, the wrong kinds of people that might come into your culture, they won't feel good there, right? They'll feel like, whoa, that's not, and you might be thinking, Todd, well, but I want everybody to be in my culture. Ideally, yes, but there are people that will not behave the way you would want. Like for me, if you're a hype person, you don't fit into my culture, right? And so if you were to join an organization I'm leading and be and hype is how you're wired, you're going to be like, this doesn't do it for me, right? So it'll work both ways from an immune system perspective. You're not going to want to be there, and I'm not going to want you there. And I'm not going to want you there pushing hype into a community, because hype doesn't serve, right? And so it's going to serve as an immune system to ward off the wrong kinds of people, and then it's going to serve as a magnet. And that is a really cool feature too, because creating a powerful, strong culture is going to attract people who say, wow, I like those kinds of people. I want to be around those kinds of people. And you have to understand your culture is serving the emotional need for people, right? It's the community aspect is a big part of our business, even though it's not the thing you talk about, right? Although that's something to consider, how to more readily weave that in. And a great place is at the back end of your story, right? When you're sharing your experience about the people, right? Because that part meets a massive emotional need in the marketplace, and it's part of the attraction. So you will end up building a culture where people want to get into it. They're like, wow, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of those people. So if you think about the cultures of the communities that you already are in, and essentially there's four of them. There's four. There's the industry culture, right? The network industry is a culture, right? It is a community. It's a huge community. Not everybody operates that way, and it's a whole nother topic that there's a lot of work to be done to make that community as welcoming and as attractive as it can be. But bottom line is the industry itself is a community, right? Then you have your company culture, right? Your company community, which again is going to be based on some of the values and going to be influenced by a lot of the ways the work is done in general. Then you're going to have the culture or the community that you came into, right? The group you were sponsored into. And those three communities, you don't control that, right? Now, you might say, that's unfortunate, right? But I mean, you can have an impact in those communities by behaving the way you want to behave, right? And modeling, and that's what the impact you can have trickling up. But in general, those communities and cultures are established already, and you come into them. But your team culture, your team community, you get to dictate that totally, right? You get to decide how you want that to look. And so there's really a couple of things that you can do, right? Kind of two things to consider here. One is the platform for your community, right? Because there needs to be a gathering, there needs to be a sharing component, right? There needs to be the belonging, the attachment of the people. And so you have the physical component and you have the online component. And so the physical component is getting together. And I know we live in a time and an age where that becomes less and less easy. However, especially locally, you want to be getting together. It doesn't mean you have to have a weekly meeting or do it every week. You just should have times where you get together to feel the physical energy of that community. And then, of course, the online aspect has made it even easier to derive community. And you have your Facebook community. And I also am a big proponent of doing community gatherings or meetings or trainings or times together through Zoom. Some sort of platform. You can use Skype, you can use whatever you use, where everybody can see each other, right? And you're online, because that brings the community together. So bringing the community together furthers the culture piece, right? It helps people go, yeah, I like this space. I like that person, right? Plus you have all the sharing that goes on, which makes a big difference for people, right? So that's one component. And then the other is setting the tone for your culture. So, how do you do that? Well, you do it through your example. You do it through your vision. You do it through your words, as long as they are in line, right? There's got to be coherent, or congruency in that. Well, it should be coherent too. And then, your behaviors and the heart of the culture, the heart of the community, right? The way it really functions, right? So those are two things to consider as you are building your community and your culture. Because if your goal is to build a long-term business, that's what you do, right? That's what you do. It's not you sign them up and you leave them and there they go, right? No, you've got to create the community for the people. So, just to give you some insights, for me, for example, everybody in my space, in my communities who knows me, feels what I do from a community standpoint. So my community aspects, what's important is that the community has a serving and an impactful heart. In other words, its focus is on helping others as a means to help self. And that it's a welcoming community where everybody feels welcome. So, whether they're part of that 80% group who just wants to make $300, $400, $500 a month, or whether they're part of that 15% group that wants to make thousands per month, or whether they're part of the 5% group that wants to make the big money, right? I want everybody has to feel welcome. So there's no judgment, and there's no trying to make someone be what they're not, right? That's not what it's about. There's no judgment, and authenticity is valued. And then, I'm all about people actualizing and becoming what they're capable of becoming and achieving what they're capable of achieving. But I don't tell them what to do, right? Because that wouldn't be respectful. So nice, honest, respectful, welcoming, right? These are things that my community is going to experience. And then, of course, the Three Circles platform, health, relationships, and then into the endeavor of building the business and your career, because getting that right builds a better life. And so that's just a little about what I value and how I create it. It's totally up to you for you to create the community that you want, but consider it. What do you want your community to look like? Because one thing you need to know, it's not just about your product or your opportunity, right? That's the surface stuff, right? That's the tangible upfront thing that people can attach to, but it is not the community. It is not the culture. A culture is not a product. A culture is not a marketing plan. A culture is people, right? It's people, and it serves that component. So I hope that you found this helpful. If you have not yet gotten my 27 scripts that work, make sure you head over to toddburrier.com and put in your email. And download that, because it will really help you consistently sponsor people. Also, if you need a little coaching, feel free to go to the Work With Me section and send me an email, and we'll see if I'm a fit for you. So hope that this was helpful, and see you next time.